Hey, welcome back to Guitar Discoveries. Today, let's go to a local guitar shop. Let's see what kind of discoveries we can make in a little mom and pop store. Now, I want to encourage all of you to patronize your local mom and pop stores. And also, when you're traveling, to take the time to check out the mom and pop stores in different communities. We're keeping this industry alive. Used guitars is something, there's nothing like playing a used guitar or an amp in person. And it's so important that these stores exist, and we have to keep them going. So mom and pop stores are usually where you're going to find the deals, especially ones that have consignments, because in a consignment situation, it's a combination of the seller who owns that guitar, and the store who then sets the price. And what I find is that often those consignment items are where the deals are. So if you're familiar with this channel, you have been introduced to my friend Andrew Bush, who owns a recording studio in Los Angeles called Grandma's. And you check out some of our other videos together. We've had a lot of fun doing things with funky guitars, and we did a studio tour, etc. When Andrew and I go into a store, it's interesting because we share a certain sensibility, which is that we're looking for instruments, amps, and other gear that is going to give us sounds that we're not familiar with, something different than what we already own. We both have significant guitar collections that include most of the standard instruments, the expected sounds, the Strats, the Les Pauls, instruments that we are very familiar with, that everyone is very familiar with. So when we go into a store, a mom and pop, it's pretty easy for us to hone in on things that are different, that might be able to give us something we don't have in our arsenal currently, in the sonic arsenal. So we walked into Grand Central Music in San Luis Obispo, and I don't even know how it happened. It took maybe a minute before we had honed in on a particular amp we wanted to listen to. It was a model and a brand that we weren't very familiar with. And we picked up a fairly inexpensive guitar off the wall, a 335 style, kind of like a Gibson, and started jamming into this old 60s amp. Check this out. My friend Andrew Bush and I decided we were going to just kill a little time and go to a local music store, and we found this great spot. The reason it makes me laugh is because I think of how many pedals it takes most people to get that sound.
Exactly, right, yeah. That's great.
God, man,
Sounds better than my basement. I mean, I got a nice basement, and this sounds better.
Okay, so I was reading up, and it was saying Alamo was basically making cheaper copies of Fenders back in the day. It's pretty nice. Sometimes it's like, that breakup is just so delicious, you know?
Well, it's got the nice in-between thing.
Yeah. Something I want to share is that it's a great idea never to be a brand snob, to think that a brand that you know that is, thought of as high quality is the only way to go and the only thing that's worth owning. Often, from a sonic standpoint, it is these strange off-brands that are really incredible and can give texture to your music that doesn't sound like everybody else's. There's only so far you can push when you're recording and you're doing reference tracks and you're trying to get similar to a sound that you know and love. There's a certain point where you have to diverge from that sound and do your own thing. Your own thing is so important in music. And testing out funky off-brands, things you might never have heard of, is a really cool way to do it.
Here, you play it.
So the Turser sounded incredible, especially when you're thinking about the price, right? This guitar is actually hanging on the wall at $249. Now there's another guitar that catches my eye. It's up on the wall and I think, oh, that's a funky old surf style guitar, probably made in, I pull it off the wall and I look and I say, Galanti, it's made in Italy. I know that. Let's check it out.
There you go.
It's got a jazz master.
Yep.
Seriously.
Yeah, it even feels like one.
Yep. Dude, I love the push buttons.
I had push buttons.
That's
freaking
badass.
so cool.
What's M? Both of them, yeah.
My question really is, what won't sound good through that?
Well,
ultimately.
Yeah. No, the amp has a great vibe, but
Gorgeous.
it's a jazz master vibe.
Sounds great. Here's the thing, until you play Galanti, you never play a real surf. This is a real surf guitar.
So if you've shopped for vintage amps, you probably know that most amps of a quality where you listen to it and go, wow, that sounds amazing, they sort of start up in the $800-900 area and they go up from there. They can go up very high depending on the brand name and the historic nature of that particular amp. This makes it all the more important when you find a funky brand to really give it a listen. I mean, this Alamo was probably from about 1963-64, based on the faceplate and everything else. And the sound was so rich and beautiful. What we both were feeling was that no matter what we did to the tonality coming from the guitar, no matter how bright, every switch, it just sounded rich and beautiful. Beautiful, and it let the character of the guitar come out.
it kind of has the Bassman vibe, but it's richer, honestly.
Yeah.
The Bassman is kind of gurgly and splatty,
yeah.
and this is more growly and big. And honestly, it could be the 15. I mean, that's a fat sounding speaker.
Yeah. What did you say the speaker was?
It's an Ampeg.
Ampeg. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if that's an old Ampeg.
And you know what else? It's got that port.
Yes, which is really cool. First tube is a ECC 83. That's a...
I got the 450 listed as a low here
Okay.
on the Alamo.
Yeah. Okay.
So after doing a bit of research, I find out that Alamo guitars and amps were a thing. They were made in San Antonio, Texas, hence the name Alamo. And they had quite a run there actually quite early. They were making Hawaiian guitars and, lap steels and amps. ran right up until the 70s. There's some really interesting articles about this, but what I did find out was that around the mid-60s they started changing the way they built their amps, and they went from all tube circuitry into sort of a mixture of tube and solid state. And a lot of people, if you trust what the internet says, say, yeah, you get later than that, they're really not that interesting. But the ones before that mid-60s period where they started making the change, very interesting amps. I'll tell you, our experience certainly confirmed that.
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt, great to meet you. Thanks for letting us hang out.
Of course.
Here this
Yeah,
afternoon.
my pleasure.
It's been fun. Tell me about this store. Do you know anything about the history of the place?
Yeah, it was called Grand Performance years ago. It came under new management in, I want to say, 2005. It's moved around town a couple times. We've been in this location for about 2.5 years. And yeah, we do lessons here, consignment, used gear, some new gear.
That was a surprise for
repairs.
us. It's like, I think you come into a store like this and you think, a lot of times for me, I think, oh, it's affiliated with a school. It's probably just going to be a bunch of new stuff. And
No.
then you guys have some treats
Yeah,
in
yeah.
here.
No,
That's cool.
we're really just like a used guitar store. That's really our thing.
Very cool. And what do you do here at the store? What's your thing?
Sales, repair, setups, yeah.
Good setups.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Good setups, yeah.
Well, really appreciate you
Yeah, my
doing
pleasure.
this.
It was,
Yeah.
great. It was great to hear you're playing.
We've had fun, that's for dang sure.
Great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
I mean, that's... So the Galanti is a true vintage 1967 Grand Prix, and it's hanging in the store for $649. You know, the miracle of the internet, right? You can go on reverb.com or eBay, check those out, find out what are they going for right now. And you can say, hey, that Galanti's a good price at $649. That might be worth the purchase. It sounds great, right? It's a lot like a Jazzmaster. Andrew does own a Jazzmaster, so that will factor into his decision. You've got the Turser at $249, which Andrew also has a 335 style Heritage. So, you know, is it too similar to that? We talked a lot about this off camera, and I bet you want to know where he ended up. Let's take a look.
Stupid.
It's stupid. Well, and I'm looking at it going, okay, you know, do $450 on the Alamo. I don't know if there's a deal available on that.
Right, exactly.
You can't buy a freaking amp for that combo price. That's insane.
It's kind of stupid. It's kind of stupid. Jeez.
So we're going to be stupid enough to walk out of here? That's a real
You
question.
said you're closing?
Yeah.
You gotta go home.
Yeah, I got a puppy waiting for me.
Coffee.
I'd push it a few more minutes, but.
Well, okay. So,
What do you think, guys?
yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like this is a sound that I need to have. Which is really not going to make my wife happy.
Oh God, I don't want to be the guy who brought you here and made this happen.
No. I bring this all upon myself. It's all upon
Thank you
myself.
for that. I have it on tape, by the way.
Yeah,
So I may be playing this back in just a short time.
You have no liability here.
All right, well, proof positive that it's always dangerous to come to a local music store. Andrew's going to be walking out with that Alamo amp that really did sound incredible, and the Turser guitar for a smoking deal. So that's the magic. You know, you can make guitar discoveries in any location, and San Luis Obispo is no exception. Did you guys do the deed? It's done?
We did the deed.
It's done. The transaction is done. Now
It's
it's
done.
it's the loadout.
Yeah.
All right.
Well.
Hey, thanks again.
Yeah.
So remember the Alamo. Remember your mom and pop shops, no matter where you go. Patronize them. Find amazing, interesting axes and amps and accessories. And happy guitar playing to everyone. Hey, please check out my website at guitardiscoveries.com. I've got all the videos posted there. And hope you'll come back. Please do subscribe, ring the little bell, or press on the bell so that you get notified when new videos come out. I love doing this. I do it just for fun and to share the knowledge I've gained after decades of playing guitars, encouraging you to stay engaged with the funk factor. Don't be afraid of those off brands. This is something I've said before. Check out this video if you want to. Off brands, that's where the deals are. That's where some very interesting sounds are, and I hope it enriches your musical life.